Endocrine system. Pituitary gland. Pituitary gland. Hypophysis. Hypophysis. Anterior pituitary gland. Anterior pituitary gland. Posterior pituitary gland. Posterior pituitary gland. Pineal body. Pineal body. Thyroid gland. Thyroid gland. Parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland. Thymus. Thymus. Adrenal gland. Adrenal gland. Pancreas. Pancreas. Ovary. Ovary. Testis. Testis. Exophthalmos. Exophthalmos. Hirsutism. Hirsutism. Adrenal virilism. Adrenal virilism. Moon face. Moon face. Edema. Edema. Hypernatremia. Hypernatremia. Hyponatremia. Hyponatremia. Buffalo hump. Buffalo hump. Truncal obesity. Truncal obesity. Insulin resistance. Insulin resistance. Hypokalemia. Hypokalemia. Hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia. Hypercalcemia. Hypercalcemia. Hypocalcemia. Hypocalcemia. Tetany. Tetany. Kussmaul respiration. Kussmaul respiration. Hyperinsulinism. Hyperinsulinism. Hyperglycemia. Hyperglycemia. Polydipsia. Polydipsia. Polyuria. Polyuria. Polyphagia. Polyphagia. Hyperpituitarism. Hyperpituitarism. Gigantism. Gigantism. Acromegaly. Acromegaly. Hypopituitarism. Hypopituitarism. Dwarfism. Dwarfism. Simmons disease. Simmons disease. Panhypopituitarism. Panhypopituitarism. Syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone secretion. Syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone secretion. Diabetes insipidus. Diabetes insipidus. Sheehan syndrome. Sheehan syndrome. Pituitary adenoma. Pituitary adenoma. Goiter. Goiter. Endemic goiter. Endemic goiter. Adenomatous goiter. Adenomatous goiter. Nodular goiter. Nodular goiter. Thyrotoxicosis. Thyrotoxicosis. Hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism. Graves' disease. Graves' disease. Plummer disease. Plummer disease. Cretinism. Cretinism. Myxedema. Myxedema. Hashimoto disease. Hashimoto disease. Thyroid cancer. Thyroid cancer. Hyperparathyroidism. Hyperparathyroidism. Osteitis fibrosa cystica. Osteitis fibrosa cystica. Pathologic fracture. Pathologic fracture. Hypoparathyroidism. Hypoparathyroidism. Diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. Insulin-dependent diabetes. Insulin-dependent diabetes. Non-insulin-dependent diabetes. Non-insulin-dependent diabetes. Impaired fasting glucose. Impaired fasting glucose. Impaired glucose tolerance. Impaired glucose tolerance. Diabetic ketoacidosis. Diabetic ketoacidosis. Diabetic nephropathy. Diabetic nephropathy. Diabetic retinopathy. Diabetic retinopathy. Aldosteronism. Aldosteronism. Cushing syndrome. Cushing syndrome. Addison disease. Addison disease. Pheochromocytoma. Pheochromocytoma. Dyslipidemia. Dyslipidemia. Metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome. Blood sugar test. Blood sugar test. Glycated hemoglobin. Glycated hemoglobin. Fasting blood sugar. Fasting blood sugar. Oral glucose tolerance test. Oral glucose tolerance test. 2 hours postprandial plasma glucose level. 2 hours postprandial plasma glucose level. C-peptide test. C-peptide test. Urine ketone test. Urine ketone test. Thyroid function test. Thyroid function test. Dexamethasone suppression test. Dexamethasone suppression test. Cocktail test. Cocktail test. Radioactive iodine uptake test. Radioactive iodine uptake test. Thyroid scan. Thyroid scan. Fine needle aspiration cytology. Fine needle aspiration cytology. Water deprivation test. Water deprivation test. Vasopressin test. Vasopressin test. Plasma arginine vasopressin. Plasma arginine vasopressin. Hypophysectomy. Hypophysectomy. Thyroidectomy. Thyroidectomy. Thymectomy. Thymectomy. Adrenalectomy. Adrenalectomy. Parathyroidectomy. Parathyroidectomy. Pinealectomy. Pinealectomy. Transphenoidal surgery. Transphenoidal surgery. Transphenoidal adenoidectomy. Transphenoidal adenoidectomy. Continuous subcutaneous insulin infusion. Continuous subcutaneous insulin infusion. Insulin pump. Insulin pump. Radioactive iodine. Radioactive iodine. Antithyroid drug. Antithyroid drug. Oral hypoglycemic agent. Oral hypoglycemic agent. Insulin therapy. Insulin therapy.